Hey everyone, welcome to Drone Talk. Well, every episode of Drone Talk, I always show you something really cool at the beginning, and this one here, I have a giant snowmobile. That is a remote control snowmobile guy. Yeah, cruises along the snow. You'll see it in a future episode. Let me show you something else. Behind me is a new display unit I got for the channel. Picked it up off of eBay, dirt cheap, because these things are expensive if you buy them new. Let me just show you it really quick. So right now it's just displaying how many people are subscribed to the channel. It is a live update. If I click this, it'll go to my next app, which is talking about Drone Talk, episode number 6, which we're gonna get to in a second. Click it again, it goes to coronavirus. I didn't put that there. Next, it tells you the time, and next it tells you the temperature. Yes, that's how cold it is right now outside. I will put below what that is in Fahrenheit. So it's pretty cool. Next thing to mention really quick is make sure you have entered to win yourself the Mavic Mini. I will pick a winner this week, so make sure you're entered. But right now, we're going to get into Drone Talk, episode 6. Something new for Drone Talk. A few of you have asked me to put a playlist below the videos, just in case in the future you want to get to a certain segment, like say right now you want to jump to the segment on, hey, how long does my drone last? Well, I've done that. You can look right below the video. There's a little timesheet there. Click on it, and it will take you to the proper segment that you wish to watch. Now, one of the big things in the news that you're hearing every day is the coronavirus, and I've reported on it in the past several times how it's affecting the suppliers of products made in China. If you live in North America or Europe, you're probably being slightly affected yourself. I already know that in the industry, there's a lot of products that are just no longer even being made in North America because they can't get parts from China. And that's true for other places in the world as well. And when it comes to drones, well, there's a bit of a problem because there are some manufacturers in the US who make drones and who get their parts from China. And a lot of you out there, I'm not going to name names, are not able to get your drone, even though you might have it on order, because those manufacturers can't get parts. Now, as you know, I review an awful lot of drones on this channel, so I have a lot of contacts in China. And I've sent emails to many of them and asked how they're doing, how is life over there with the coronavirus? And the biggest thing from all of them is that none of them are back to work. Yeah, that is really weird. And just to show you, I'll put up a few short emails that I've received. I've just taken segments out of the emails. I'm not going to give you the names of the individuals, but these people are all in China, and these are people I contact weekly to find out about new products happening in China. First one says,
I am fine, thank you very much. I haven't returned to the office. I will stay at home because of the virus now.
Thank you so much for your concern. I'm doing well from the coronavirus in Gadong, far away from Wuhan. But we also need to protect ourselves from the virus.
I'm fine. I'm staying with my parents now. My hometown has only been slightly affected by the coronavirus.
Now here's something you've probably noticed yourself. If you order any products from China right now, some of them may ship, and other ones you might get no response at all other that they have your order. And that's all because of the coronavirus. So a lot of you who are waiting for a product that you've ordered from China maybe a month ago and it hasn't even shipped yet or it hasn't even arrived, that's why. So with all that said, there's going to be a lot of delays in products that all of us have been waiting for this year in the drone market. So if you were expecting a product in March or April, you better move that along to the summertime before you actually see it. This next topic is only because I get asked this question all the time, so I'm going to explain this really quick. In the world of drones, you can see me moving drones around here. There's only two hobbies out there. There's this hobby, which a lot of you who watch my channel, this is mostly what you're into. In Canada, most of us refer to this as a camera drone. Yes, it's a drone with a camera that is designed to fly and take videos and photos, and they pretty much all have GPS built in. And when you buy them, inside the box, you get the battery, the remote, the charger, everything, the drone, and you're all set to fly. Really good for beginners because you can get up and running with no experience. There's another hobby out there, and it's called the FPV RC hobby. This is an FPV RC hobby drone. No GPS, no nothing in it. It just flies at the will of whatever you want. You have to buy the radio. You have to buy the charger. You have to buy a multiple amount of batteries. You buy the props for your liking. You can change the motors. You can do anything you want to it. It has a little camera on the front. It's not for video. It's not for photo. It's so that you can see where this thing is flying at super high speed. If I take the battery off of this, I can get almost 30 minutes of flight time on this here camera drone. If I took this battery off and stuck it on here, well, the battery's not really made for this, but if I could, This would give me 30 minutes of flight time. This would give me 3 minutes because it has to suck every ounce of voltage power out of this to get this thing moving at the super high speed. There's no restrictions on this. It is the most wonderful feeling in the world to fly the RC FPV hobby. In this hobby, I have one drone, one remote. They connect together. That's the way it works. In this hobby, the RC FPV hobby, I have one remote and probably about 200, 500 different drones, and they all connect to the one remote. That's how awesome it is. And it's also the hobby that you have Fat Shark goggles, which are the most famous, that you fly around and you see everybody wearing when they're flying FPV. Now, certainly a lot of you are probably going, hang on a sec, DJI has those ridiculous goggles, big headset, and I can fly my Phantom and my Mavic with those. And they call them FPV. Well, they are FPV because it puts the screen in front, but it's not the FPV hobby. It's still the camera drone hobby. And DJI actually did get into the FPV hobby, and they made their own FPV goggles that are sort of like Fat Sharks. But the only difference is the signal that comes off the drone, I must put the DJI module in my drone so that it sends the video signal that these goggles can read. So in the drone world, we have two hobbies. We have the camera drone one, which is pretty much everything's included in the box, and you have GPS and life is great, and anybody, even your kids, can fly these things, no problem. And then you have the RC FPV hobby, which takes a lot of skill, but as soon as you get into it, it's a lot of fun. And nothing comes in a box. You have to buy everything separate, unless you get the little beginner entry-level kits that are like $100 or $200, but those are just good for the kit you have, and then nothing else really connects to anything else, so you really have to get into the pro level. Anyways, if you have any questions on this, if I've confused the heck out of you, certainly post them below. All right, next topic. All right, for this next segment, the question comes from one of the viewers on this channel, and the viewer is Dennis Small. Let me just read what he writes. He writes,
I'd like to hear your comment on the expected maintenance of drones. For example, after how many hours would I expect to replace a brushless motor, or how many cycles should a good battery last?
Well, we'll discuss that right now. Now I'm going to give you a spoiler alert and basically tell you how long a drone is going to last. And this is taken from my tiny little Captain Drone goldfish brain. All right, but I'll explain how I come up with my methodology, and you'll see it's quite sound. So if you buy something that's quite a good drone that has a warranty, like a DJI drone, Autel, Unique, Parrot, Skydio, the big name companies that produce expensive drones that come with warranties, you probably on a good scale, you'll get 10 years out of the drone. I'll explain that in a bit. If you buy a low-cost drone, you know, the drones that come with no warranties, they have no serial number, there's no big name company backing it that you can contact, no support, anything like that, you can get maybe 2 years out of them, maybe 3. It's hit and miss due to the components inside as well as the software. Usually the software is the problem before the components inside. I'll explain that. But first, let me get back to the high-quality drones, and let me tell you why I think you have about a max of 10 years on a high-quality drone. Recognize this? This is an iPhone. Yeah, the iPhone was pretty much the first real smart consumer phone that came on the market, and that was 13 years ago. Can you imagine? 13 years ago, we had the iPhone, and it had a different operating system than it has today. Different processor, different technology. It wasn't that great, but back then that's all we had. So can you imagine if you had a drone 13 years ago and you had an app for it? Do you think that app would still work today on your new iPhone? Probably not. And that's also true for drones. Well, this drone has what we think today is a great camera, gimbal, memory in it, battery life. But in 13 years from now, this will be very antiquated. It will be like a Model T Ford. So if you pull this out in 13 years from now, you're just looking at it in a museum. Let me go back to the low-cost drone. Low-cost drones are designed with low-cost parts, which means that the likelihood of failure of any part is greater on a low-cost drone. In addition, since they don't have support from the company, and since a lot of times these products just pop on the market and then the next year they're no longer on the market, same is true for the app that controls them. You will see, and I've already seen it on low-cost drones, you have an app, the drone comes out that year, the app is great, next thing you know the company either deletes the app or doesn't update the app, but all other technology has been updated and there's incompatibility problems. So yeah, low-cost drones, I say 3 years with a low-cost drone, and a higher quality drone, I'll say about 10 years. Now, the next thing to look at would be the battery on the drone, and what I'm about to tell you applies to a very high quality, expensive drone and a very low cost drone. Same thing applies. Here we go. When it comes to LiPo batteries, the answer is pretty much all the same. You can recharge these about maybe 500 times at the high end, and at the low end, maybe 200 or 300 times. It all depends how well you take care of your battery. Doing something negative to the battery is going to reduce that. So if you get the battery too hot, in other words, you leave it in your car on a hot summer's day, or the worst thing that I know a lot of people do is they deplete the battery. The voltage can only go so low in a LiPo battery before it becomes useless. And low-cost drones, I find a lot of owners actually deplete the battery. They fly it to the last possible second, even though it's been saying low battery for a while. And the batteries are usually useless after that. Every battery has a capacity. So if you look at the battery, it will tell you the capacity. This one here is about 3,850 milliamps. So that's basically like a gas tank on your car, how much gas you can fill up in your tank, like a 40-gallon tank. So this one's 3,850 milliamps. That's the capacity. And over time, it's actually going to dwindle. Every time you recharge this, it dwindles a little bit, a little bit, little bit, little bit. By the time you get to about 200 charges on a LiPo battery, you might be at 75% of those milliamps. So your flight time is going to be reduced. And once again, if you treated that battery poorly, that's going to advance itself. You might only get like 10 charges and all of a sudden the flight time is reduced. So you have to be very careful with batteries. So most LiPo batteries for any drones, budget drones, or even high expensive drones, if you treat them well, your battery will be fine for 3 years. 3 years of good flight time. After that, you're going to start to notice some dwindling happening. Next, we'll talk about the motors on a drone. How long will they last, since that was part of the question being asked. So I have a low-cost drone here. This drone is low cost, but it has brushless motors. All the good quality high-end drones all have brushless motors as opposed to brushed. Let me show you a brushed drone. This here would be a little brush motor drone, and this would be a little brush motor drone. You can visually see the difference between a brushless motor and a brush motor. Let me show you really quick as I bring this close. This is a brushless motor, and you can see right through it, right to the copper winding inside, and that's pretty much it. It has an open face. Here we have the tello, and it is a brushed motor. You notice it is kind of like a cylinder, and it's pretty much enclosed. Let me show you another one. Here we have a knockoff of a Mavic. This is a little plastic toy drone, and you can see that is a brushed motor. It's actually in the arm. Watch this. So the brush motor is long, and it's placed in the arm this way, and it connects to a gear that spins these props. So when it comes to lifespan of the motors, it makes a huge difference. A brushed motor is going to give you a lifespan of about 3,000 hours, maybe 1,000 to 3,000 hours, and you can shorten that lifespan just by having a cat or a dog. Little hairs get into them and just ruin it. And a brushless motor is going to give you tens of thousands of hours of lifespan. So these will last you the full life of the drone. And the only way to mess up a brushless motor is to pretty much get dirt in there and mess up the copper wiring on the inside. And if you think a brush motor is pretty bad, just look around your house and you'll see that almost everything you own that has an electric motor in it has a brushed motor for the most part. Like power tools. Usually always brushed motors, even if it's a big name brand. If you want brushless, you're going to pay a lot more for the tool. Your washer, your dryer, your cooking appliances, anything with an electric motor is probably brushed. And it lasts a long time. You use it quite a bit. But when it comes to drones, a brushless motor is much more efficient. And that's why all the high-end drones or any drones that have to lift a lot of weight will have a brushless motor, because they need that motor to turn quick, fast, and be very powerful, and that's what a brushless motor does. And if I've got your mind thinking about brush motors and brushless, here's a graphic of brushed and brushless motors. You can see that the brush motor has a shaft, and there's brushes that touch the shaft, and in the brushless motor, just like I showed you with the copper coils, there is no touching. Just the electric current flows around in different directions, and it causes the motor to actually turn. Now, another item that will probably last a long time is your camera gimbal. Now, you probably think, wow, it's pretty fragile. On low-cost drones, this is probably the first thing to fail if you buy a low-cost drone with a camera gimbal, because of the way they design the system and the components they use. On something high quality like a Mavic or a Phantom or an Autel Evo or anything like that, the camera gimbal is quite more robust and they use a set of magnets that are quite powerful, whereas in the low-cost drones, not so much. There's more chance of fail. So your gimbal on a good quality drone should last a long time. Now, everything I'm saying right now is true as long as you never crash your drone. If you crash your low-quality drone or your high-quality drone, you just sort of reduce the lifespan of that drone, of all the components, by quite a margin. So as soon as you crash, all bets are off. Next item, and this applies to low cost and high quality drones, is the props. The props are never going to last you 10 years. A lot of people never change their props, but the prop is actually the component that's probably going to cause damage to the rest of your drone. If you have a prop with chips in it, obviously you should replace it. Your drone's still going to fly fine, but you got to replace it. If you've left your drone in the hot sun in your car or something like that, it might warp. So check your props a lot of times. If they warp a little bit, yeah, you might want to replace them because it's going to cause vibrations, same as chips would do that. If you get small vibrations in a drone, you may not notice the vibrations, but your drone definitely does, as do all the other components. So you might get little cracks in the plastic, the circuit board due to the vibrations. And that brings me up to one more thing. This applies to high quality drones and low cost. Low cost drones, there's really no coating on the circuit board, and the circuit boards are made really fast, so the circuits on them are probably not the best. They have more chance to fail than a high quality drone. Something like, a DJI drone, the circuit board in here is made quite well and it's not going to fail due to vibrations for the most part. But it will fail if you get moisture on the circuit board because it's going to cause corrosion, and that applies to the low cost drones as well. So if you fly these like I do in the winter, and then in the summer I go hot, cold, I'm probably taking away a few lifespan years on the drone, but very minor. But if you fly in a climate where it's extremely humid and then dry, and all that humidity and the moisture has time to cause a little bit of corrosion, over time you might get some failure. Now, one item you probably won't see failure over the lifespan of the drone is the LED lights. Even if it's a cheap, low-cost drone like this one, the LED lights are probably going to last a very long time. As long as you don't crash and disconnect some sort of wiring. Because LED lights usually have a rating of a lifespan of 50,000 hours minimum, so yeah, they're going to last you a long time. And if you have a drone that's foldable, high quality, or low cost, well, guess what? These movable arms to fold and unfold. A lot of people thought when the Mavic came out, the DJI Mavic in the year 2016, that's the first thing that's going to fail on the drone. Well, guess what? All of you Mavic owners who have the Mavic Pro from 2016, I bet you your arms work perfectly fine. No problems whatsoever. And that's true because the mechanism inside is designed, it's just a resistance mechanism. It's going to wear out over time, but it's not going to fail. So the only way it would fail is if you crash, if these arms are out and you crash and they smash the arms in a certain direction, then yeah, the mechanism's probably going to have a shorter life and fail. But if you have no crashes and you just open them to fly, close it to put it away, low cost or high quality drones should last you a very long time. So there you go, there's my take on how long will a drone last. And of course, the more you spend on a drone, the higher quality it is, the better you take care of it, the longer it's going to last. And it's also true for the low-cost drones. If you take very good care of a low-cost drone, everything should last except for the battery, the props, and of course the software, the app. You have no control over that. So if you never update your phone or update any apps, then you can fly forever on both drones. And just to give you one last piece of information to think about, the DJI Phantom 1 came out in the year 2013 in the month of January. When that Phantom came out, there was no camera because cameras were not attached to drones back then. So there was no gimbal, no camera. You had to hook up a GoPro. It was pretty terrible. The software, everything that was available for it was very limited, and none of that stuff really works today. Think about that when you're thinking about your drone today and how will it be in 10 years. Advancements in phone and drone technology and just like car technology with all the sensors everywhere, you're going to see things even in 5 years from now are going to look so different than they do today. Now, if you think there's something I should have mentioned that I did not mention, by all means, post a comment below so that you can share your knowledge with everybody else in the comment section. All right, my little $25 display back there is telling me to sum up and get off the air. So drone talk, well, it is over. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I will have many more drone reviews in the future, and there will be many more drone talk episodes in the future based on suggestions from yourselves. So by all means, post your comments below. I will catch you in a future episode, and don't forget to enter that Mavic Mini contest, and the winners will be announced sometime this week. So take care until the next video. See you then.